to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have somebody move the agenda to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Flores, second by Vice President Laura. Any additions, corrections, deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all is in favor of the agenda? That passes 7-0. Mr. Hepburn, student leaders from Odyssey. Welcome. Oh, Dr. Hepburn, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I apologize, Dr. Hepburn.
Yes.
Congratulations. Oh. I got an excuse then.
All right, thank you all for having us here tonight. I am Tavia Smith. I am a junior at Odyssey Academy, and I'm also a part of the RTE1 program.
I'm Delaney Best. I'm a junior, and I'm also part of the RTE1 program.
Hi, my name is Tariana Sessler. I'm a senior at Odyssey Academy, and I'm a part of the RTE program.
Hi, my name is Melanie Hernandez. I'm also a senior at Odyssey Academy, and I'm a part of the RT2 group and a former student of the RT1.
Hello, my name is Juan Corujo. I'm a senior at Odyssey Academy. I'm part of the RT1 and 2 program.
We are here to talk about just some things that Odyssey has been doing lately, and we want to talk about our program, RTE. So to start, RTE, or Responding to Emergencies, is primarily a program that gets us prepared to work as first responders. This class is also a MCC dual credit class, meaning we can get college credit in high school. So the class that I'm in is RTE1. This is more of a firefighter-based class, and even though it's not my career of choice, I still get so much experience from the program, such as life skills. I get problem-solving skills, emergency management skills, all things that everyone should have access to, because in the real world, you never know when you could come up on an emergency, and to have those skills is so important. So every Wednesday and Thursday for the other RTE1 group, we have our training days. And here we have Battalion Chief Jibo, who comes in and devotes his time to help us learn and for our own success. And we also have a lot of field trips throughout the year where we go to training grounds and work with firefighters, and we get a feel for what it's like to be a firefighter. At the end of this program, we get certified in BFO, which is Basic Exterior Firefighting Operations, and HEMPRO, which is Hazmat First Responder Operations. Tomorrow is actually our final our final exam, where we get tested in our written exam and our physical exam. I believe that every single board member here has been invited to that. From like 12:30 to 2:30, you can come watch us present our skills. There's going to be food, and we would love to see everybody there tomorrow at Odyssey.
Going off of what Tavia said, recently we've been doing a lot of stuff at the North Greece Fire Training Ground. We've been practicing roof venting, tapping a hydrant. We actually got to climb a, I think, 40-foot fire truck ladder. I was kind of scared for that.
It's up here on the presentation.
Yeah,
Gates Fire District.
that was really high. But we also learned how to like tie knots and just climb a ladder, but like the right way, I guess.
Yeah.
As for our T2, which we mainly focus on EMS, in emergency medical services, we observe calls from the radio, preparing us for future jobs such as dispatchers at the Monroe 911 Center. We learn from Dr. Cushman as the head of EMS director, the many nurse shadowing positions. Welcome to all of us wanting to join the medical field. Our EMS instructor, Mr. Carver, taught us hands-on experiences and hand-on stop the bleed, also CPR. And during the end of this year finishing, we will gain our EMS certificate.
To elaborate what Tariana was saying, I wanted to talk about more of what we're up to right now. Currently, we attend school every single Monday at 6:30 in the morning before school starts. And during this time period, we learn more about the different situationals that we have to approach and how we will approach it. You know, sometimes we may approach a scene where we don't know what we might do in the moment, but during this class, we learn what type of problem solvings that we have to do. You know, you can come up to a patient that may have autism or if they're nonverbal, and during this class we learn how to talk to nonverbal people. So it's a great opportunity for us to communicate with people who are nonverbal. And with that being said, I feel like this class really helped me as a person. I feel like without this program, I wouldn't be able to speak to other people as I would normally now. You know, sometimes I find myself talking to random strangers at the store, and I don't really talk to people like that, so it's just weird for me. But I really enjoy being in this program because it really broke me out my shell. So with that being said, I wanted to speak more about what we're up to right now. And we're learning about different medications and the different tools that we use, how to stop the bleed, as Tariana was saying. You know, we just have to learn the appropriate mechanisms that we have to use in order for us to fix the situation. Currently, we are booking appointments with Monroe and Brockport Ambulance so that we can do our ride times. Ride times are when we ride with the ambulances to get live action, and it's a great opportunity for us to experience what it is to be on a live action. You know, the live rides don't really, I mean, they'll show us like, sorry, my mind just went blank. The rides, they'll show us like the different situations because we can't really predict what will happen. So if we're on these rides, it'll show us really how the paramedics will really approach the scene. So it's just a great opportunity for us. And yeah. Shoot, my thing went down.
As mentioned before, I am dually enrolled in RTE 1 and 2. I have plans upon graduation of doing search and rescue for a fire department. And upon training for our skills day tomorrow, I hit the hydrant having the fastest time of 1:40. It's not a competition, but it's a competition.
We value community building at Odyssey. Principal Hepburn had lunch with Priscilla Parker and Daniel Rudd of Vision Financial Group to discuss financial literacy.
On April 21st, Principal Hepburn hosted pastries with the principal. We were lucky enough to be joined by parents, Mr. Miller, and the select choir, as well as Dr. Driscoll from Roberts Wesleyan.
Also on April 29th, the seniors completed a series of activities on the senior scavenger hunt, while Principal Hepburn and Assistant Principal Graves celebrated Educator Sneaker Joy Day.
On Friday, April 29th, our mixed and select choirs competed in the New York State Music Association Major Organization Competition. Both choirs received gold. We are super proud of our music departments.
Classrooms at Odyssey have been busy being productive, creating projects, doing hands-on activities, and preparing for both state and AP exams. On any day, you can walk into a classroom and see our scholars achieving.
At Odyssey, we love having student celebrations. We are always looking for opportunities to honor scholars in grades 6 through 12. Recently, we honored our Students of the Month and had a 6th grade extravaganza where our scholars participated in a number of activities.
We have been busy with the March Spirit Week. We have many scholars dressed to impress. We have Mosaic students engaging in equity work across our community. Many of our avid students have been touring colleges and most recently attended the Red Wings game.
The Grease Gladiators made history this season, led by Odyssey's own Miss Raniletti. They, for the first time in 18 years, came out on top, winning our local regionals, sending them to the World Championships in Texas.
10 members from the team were selected to represent Greece at Worlds, while a dedicated group of 8 other students collected and scout data from home. Our team landed 29th overall and were knocked out in the second to last semifinals, falling by only 7 points. The Gladiators hold the highest qualifying match score of the whole season, with no penalties at 205 points. Greece turned heads with this year, and they don't plan to stop here. We are super proud to showcase a high population of women of STEM. Thank you, Ms. Ranaletti.
We are Odyssey.
All right, I got a question. Heads up, guys. Come back up. We're going to do a picture, and I have a couple.
Oh,
I'm going to
I'm
make a couple comments. I'm super biased to the RTE program. Battalion Chief Jibo and I, way back in the day, did a lot of talking about that at the firehouse in the middle of the night after calls. So I'm super biased about your guys' program. I'm so tremendously proud of you. I can't wait till tomorrow to see what you guys are doing. I know you want to be a firefighter. What about the rest of you guys? What do you guys want to do?
I want to go into nursing and possibly get my doctorate's degree and go into more orthopedics.
Nice.
I also want to be a firefighter.
Awesome.
I want to major more in psychology, and I just feel like this program is really good for me as a good background check, so I just really like this program for that.
Awesome.
I want to be a sonographer. I want to look at baby ultrasounds and just all that chemistry stuff.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, all of you, and thank you. And we're going to come up and have you guys come up and do a picture with us, if you don't mind. Oh, absolutely. The Greece Gladiators Robotics recognition. Superintendent Groutman.
Yes, so we have a sea of blue sitting here, and we got a little bit of a preview from our student leader comments. But what I would like to do is just read some really important information to recognize you and the season that you've had, and let you know just how proud of all of you we are as a district, as a superintendent, and I know as a Board of Education. So I'm going to go ahead and read this, and then I probably have a few other comments because I'm me. So the Greece Gladiators Robotics team was started in 2005. It has progressed through several coaching changes, and many high school students have been on from the 4 high schools here in Greece. Prior to 2023, the Greece Gladiators had earned only 1 award. Only 1. This past March, however, at the 2023 Finger Lakes Regional First Competition, the Gladiators were ranked #1 throughout the entire event, finishing with nearly a perfect 13-1 record. So let's just stop for a second. 13-1 record, #1. Can we just give it up? But there's more. They won the award for excellence in programming. This is earned by the student pre-programming the robot to do certain tasks on its own for the first 15 seconds of each match. Additionally, their coach, Marisa Ranaletti, won the Woody Flowers Finalist Award, given to the coach that best represents a model for the team to emulate and best embodies the mission of FIRST Robotics. In the end, the Gladiators won the competition along with their alliance partners from Spencerport and Canandaigua. This win earned all 3 teams the opportunity to attend the FIRST Robotics World Competition. Additionally, the Gladiators, for the first time in team history, attended a second competition in Pittsburgh. So this is the first time we've ever done this. At this competition, the team ended the weekend ranked number 2. Along with alliance partners from Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, the Gladiators won First Robotics Greater Pittsburgh Regional Competition. The peak of First Robotics competition and the season is in the World Championship, which took place in Houston, Texas, beginning on April 13th. The Gladiators were able to send a contingent of 15 team members to the competition to participate on the Galileo field, and were able to progress all the way to the semifinal round with the alliance teams from Michigan, Texas, and the Netherlands. This was a true international alliance of high school students coming together as one team to compete for one goal. An experience the team would not have had without the help of Greece Central School District. The Gladiators head coach Marisa Ranaletti, assistant coach Lori Manhart are both Greece Arcadia High School alumni. They both take great pride in helping their bright young students pave the way for potential futures in STEM with hands-on skills, leadership, management, marketing, web design, and so much more. Finally, the Gladiators finished the season ranked number 1 in New York State out of 141 teams, 36th in the U.S. out of 2,687 teams, and 40th in the world out of 3,294 teams. Can we just give a hand? So those are statistics, and what you know about me is like I'm the worst, like reading a speech or things like this is like not my favorite thing. What I just want to say to you as a superintendent is I was with your coach Marisa close to 6 years ago, Marisa. And I share this story because it's really meaningful. I was really, really impressed that you had reinvigorated the program. It's been around for a long time, but had pretty much died out. Your passion, your excitement, and your vision started years ago. And taking over this team and the work that you've done to really make it accessible for kids, make it exciting for kids, has been just incredible. So I want to make sure that I just give you a shout out and say thank you for that, because so much of what happens with our students is because of a teacher or the adult. And you make a huge difference in that way. And I also want to point out, because we've got a lot of other adults standing here in this group, if you are an adult that has supported the team as a mentor or a parent that's here in the audience, can you please stand up as well? So just take a look. So one of the beautiful things about robotics is the adult support that comes in. And what we know from research is that partnerships like this matter and make a huge difference. So all of you have touched and made a huge difference to every one of the students on this team and made a difference in their life. And to look at a team and see this sort of representation, particularly from females, on a primarily STEM, male-dominated activity is really, really impressive. So thank you so much to all the parents, to the mentors, to the family members who are here and who've supported the team along the way. And to you students, you are amazing, and I look forward to many, many years of success. So thank you so much.
And it's picture time.
We're going to have to sprint, though.
While we're getting ready to, I just wanted to take a second to just say thank you so much for seeing I would just like to take, and I'm sorry if I get a little emotional, because we know Ranaletti does this from time to time, but I want to say thank you to the board, and I want to say thank you to all of you individuals that have seen me all the way back from when I decided to take this over until now. I could not have done it without any of your support. I could not do it without you guys cheering for us, and I think the entire community has to know that the confetti didn't even fall yet by the time that me and Miss Lori had the whole Board of Education on the phone, and they were like, don't worry, we're getting you and the kids to Texas. And I knew then that this was really a turning point for Greece Central, and I really do think that we are going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I think it all comes back to you guys also supporting the kids. They really see it, they really feel it, and I know they are not all here in force, but I know that they would all say thank you so much.
Cabinet, come on. A lot of banners.
You were that, I didn't.
Sorry, Tim.
Where's the robot? Currently, the robot is in Spencer Court, because it's where we've been practicing. And we will bring you the robot anytime, for sure.
Scratch in.
All right, scratch in. Scratch in, yep.
All right, now rolling into our union comments. We'll start with GTA. Mr. Johnson, welcome.
Before I begin my plan remarks, as someone who's an elementary teacher, it's always so cool for us to see what our kids do when they get to the middle and high school level. So huge congratulations to the Gladiators team, the kids from Odyssey, sports, arts, academics. Like, it's always so gratifying for us to see where they end up. It's just so cool. So my premier remarks. Good evening. My name's Peter Johnson, and I'm an English as a new language teacher at Brookside Elementary School. I'm also a GTA rep and GTA's political action chair. It's been my responsibility to organize, conduct, and provide an annual report on the process we use during board elections. Typically, most teachers dislike getting involved in politics. They'd rather be focused on teaching and working with their students. But as we've seen in recent years, schools have become politicized at all levels of government, so more and more of us are realizing that if we don't speak up, then the loudest voices will be making decisions for us, and they may not be good ones. I'm pleased to share that interest in our interview and endorsement process was at an all-time high this year. Another welcome development was the addition of other Greece unions into our process. We've worked with ACCEP for a number of years, but this year we were joined by GASA and Teamsters as well. Our students are taking quite a few assessments right now, and any election is essentially an assessment that asks two key questions. Are the voters confident their community is moving in a positive direction? And which candidates have the strongest ideas on how to make sure progress is made? To be clear, these questions do not ignore that there may be problems and issues. Greece teachers are not ignoring the very real challenges our district is facing. I'm not going to stand here and give some Pollyannish remarks claiming all is well. We know we have work to do in Greece. But are we just going to complain about our challenges, or are we going to continue working on making improvements? So how are we moving in a positive direction in regard to safety and student behavior? When the town of Greece wanted significantly more money to pay for SROs, the district solved this problem by hiring former SROs directly while still maintaining our strong connections to the Greece PD. New weapons detection systems will be added to our middle and high schools. We had capital improvement projects that added security vestibules to our schools. The district established a code of conduct committee, which has brought teachers and administrators from every building together to ensure consistent understanding and application of the code of conduct across the district. Student suspensions are unfortunately at an all-time high. We've already passed the number of long-term suspensions from all of last year. This demonstrates that students are being held accountable for negative choices, but also points to the fact that suspension isn't necessarily an effective deterrent. As we know, the adolescent brain is still developing, and consequences for actions may not be forefront in their decision-making process. This is why proactive behavior and safety measures are so important. The district has invested in mental health and behavior supports, such as additional counselors, social workers, and behavioral interventionists. We have partnered with the Center for Youth, Genesee Mental Health, and Hillside to get our students the help they need. We've invested in social emotional learning to help our students learn self-regulation and management. The District Climate and Culture Committee brings teachers and other stakeholders together to guide this work. We are even partnering with area pediatricians to support work in mental health and community engagement. So, is student behavior since the pandemic an issue? Yes. This is a complex and challenging problem with no quick fixes. Otherwise, we'd have already done them. It is also the case that student behavior is an issue in every other district we hear from. While many in our community are concerned about student behavior, as are we, they also praise the progress we've made in adding mental health and behavior support to students and the development of our community schools programs. Greece teachers agree these are good ideas and signs of progress. And one last thing, let's not forget that the vast majority of our students are well-behaved kids. This is really about getting the support some of our students need to be their best selves. In academics, we also recognize that there is work to be done. Our student performance on grades 3 through 8 ELA and math tests isn't where any of us want it to be. We recognize we need to improve. One thing every candidate we talked to agreed on was that parental involvement is important to student success. I think everyone in our district agrees on that. But what that looks like for every family in our district can be very different. We need to recognize that our district is at 64% for free and reduced lunch. Given the fact that we all agree that parental involvement is important, but for many of our families this may take the form of working multiple jobs to keep a roof over their children's heads, food on the table, and leave little time for much else, what do we do? What are we doing? First of all, we work hard. Teachers provide additional before and after school support. We offer learning opportunities during breaks and summer. We modify, collaborate, and do all we can for each one of our kids. A majority of us are parents as well. We know how precious a child is and how every parent hopes they will do well in life. But our efforts can't just be at the classroom level. Our board over the past 5 years has been instrumental in supporting the community schools model. This is critical because it connects families and students to the resources they need to be able to come to school and be ready to learn. This wasn't something that was needed in Greece 20 years ago. It is now. Thank you for supporting this initiative. Our district is always looking at improving our curriculum, and we are nearing the end of the curriculum review process for English language arts. Greece teachers around the district have been piloting different curriculum options and meeting regularly to discuss their positives and drawbacks. As I understand it, a final decision by this important committee will be coming soon. We are hopeful this new curriculum will be a benefit to our students and appreciate all the work the teachers piloting these programs have put into this effort. I'd also like to mention the MTSS RTI Committee, which stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support and Response to Intervention. This group of teachers and administrators meets regularly to make sure that we have a well-functioning processes to get students who are struggling the support they need. To wrap up, Greece teachers have felt supported by the Board of Education, and we thank you for that. Is everything perfect in our schools? No. Is our district run well? Yes. Greece teachers have confidence in the direction we are moving. We believe in the ideas that are being implemented, and we are optimistic for the future. Our union also supports positive efforts for our community independent of the district through our Social Justice Committee and scholarships to students considering a career in education. If you'd like to learn more or support these programs, please check out our website at greeceteachers.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. GASA and Teamsters, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Stacy Brindisi. I'm the Executive Director of Pupil Personnel Services for the district, but I'm here tonight as the President of the Greece Administrators and Supervisors Association, also known as GASA. And I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Good evening. I'm Karen Costera. I'm Business Agent for Teamsters Local 118 and represent the Teamster employees in the district.
Good evening. I'm Mark Fleming, Principal on Special Assignment, and I'm the Vice President for GASA.
So we thank you for your time. The three of us are standing together, united tonight, to share that for the first time, our respective units were engaged in a collaborative process with GTA and AgSep in endorsing board candidates this year. Just lost my train of thought. You lost your train of thought? I lost my train of thought, yeah. Geez, I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness. Jesus, oh, I'm sorry. At the close of the process, all of our units were united in support of the Board of Education candidates whom we feel are best suited to serve on our school board. If anyone is interested in specifics about our respective units' endorsements, you can feel free to reach out to any one of the three of us directly, and we're happy to share additional information. And before we invite our principal colleagues, Principal Ferris and Julia, up to present information tonight, more GASA comments, we want to encourage everybody to vote in support of our school budget on the 16th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Ed. Good evening, Greece community. I'm Andrea Gilia. I am a proud administrator in Greece and a very proud Pine Brook principal. I'm here to speak on behalf of my administrative colleagues to share all the celebrations that we have this evening. So it's hard in the day-to-day operations, in the day-to-day problem solving, to really know how are the kids doing. But I'm here to tell you that the kids are doing well, and the kids are thriving, and they're thriving with the choice and voice and ownership that we give them every day at our schools in Greece. We give them chances to participate, we give them chances to share their input, and we give them chances to be student-centered. And so in the spirit of being truly student-centered, I decided that I would not share with you all of the highlights from our schools, but instead I will allow our students to share with you. So please enjoy our GASA comments this evening.
Good evening, Greece Board of Education members and the Greece community.
I'm Malachi from Miss Valkovic's 5th grade class.
And I'm Lily from Miss Valkovic's 5th grade class.
Welcome to the Pine Brook Morning Show. Today is Tuesday, May 2nd. We have some breaking news to share with you.
First off, we have an exciting announcement from the 2nd grade.
Our building interventionist, Mr. Fowler, and our math teaching assistants have been working to challenge kids at their own math levels all year.
One of the activities that Pine Brook students in grades 1st to 5th participated in was a New York State sponsored 24-game tournament. 3 2nd graders finished in 1st place in our region out of 150 school districts.
Here are our 2nd graders being surprised on our morning show with their awards.
Hi everyone, I'm just here to kind of put a wrap on our 24-game challenge that we had during our math win times, and I have some 2nd graders here with me showing you the certificates that all of you that participated should have received. I know I've got to get to a couple of 5th grade classes, but I will get to them soon. So I just wanted to say thank you for, I'm getting a little message here. I'm getting some breaking news. Oh, I've just got word. We had a grade level team that actually won their region, okay? They won their region of over 150 participating school districts.
Congratulations on your trophies, a plaque, $1,000 for our school, and a trip to Albany to compete at the state level.
This opportunity wouldn't have been possible without your support of a building interventionist at Pine Brook. Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Stay tuned to see how our team places on May 20th in Albany. Good luck, guys.
Hi, my name is Dylan. I want to talk about how English Village students are leaders. We are proud to be a leader in me school. This year, we took over the EV morning announcements. We also have recycling helpers and safety patrol monitors. Last week, I was tech support during the Very Good Leader Awards ceremony. We are very proud to be leaders in our school. Yeah.
Please join our kindergarten leaders in reciting our Autumn Lane mission statement.
As learners, we will be safe, be kind, be brave, and be our best.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share what's going on in our schools, and I thank you for all of your service to our Greece community.
Thank you. That was awesome. Moving on to 2.01, the 23-24 budget presentation. Superintendent Groutman.
Yep, I'm going to have Mr. Khalili share with us a short presentation. We have presented multiple times now. What we have for you this evening is a little bit of a hybrid. So we've taken a short presentation that is a summary of what you've seen the last two meetings. And then there's also a couple of clarification slides that Romeo will take us through, as well as just a quick update on some of the information we got just yesterday from New York State.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. As Superintendent Groutman had indicated, we have a video here, a narrative completed in-house by Rob Linton. It's an overview of our budget and our budget for 23-24, and we'll play that now.
Hello and thank you for taking the time to learn more about the Greece Central School District budget proposal for the 2023-24 school year. In Greece, registered school voters head to the polls on May 16th, where they will decide on a funding plan for the 2023-24 school year and a bus replacement proposition. Voters will also select 3 people to represent them on the Board of Education. Developing an educationally sound and fiscally responsible budget is a year-round process and a responsibility that we take very seriously. Our 2023-24 budget proposal is aligned with the REACH 2027 Greece Strategic Plan. Funding is focused on 3 key areas: igniting learning, cultivating trust, and expanding opportunity. Let's take a closer look at how the budget invests in these core district commitments. Supporting the educational growth of our students is our #1 priority, and it's where we direct the majority of our tax dollars. The 2023-24 budget supports targeted ELA and math intervention supports to help students reach and exceed grade level expectations. It also supports the purchase of updated research-based curriculum and staff training. Investing in academic intervention programs has helped Greece maintain an on-time graduation rate of more than 90%. While we're proud of that benchmark, we also want to ensure that students are ready for life after graduation. That's why the budget proposal increases access to career pathway programs and includes 78 courses that are eligible for college credit. Quality schools contribute to the overall well-being of our community. The budget proposal expands our community schools strategy, which positively affects students' attendance and achievement. Based on feedback provided by families who participate in the district's annual need assessment survey, we've expanded the school day, added numerous student clubs, increased access to community resources and supports, helping thousands of families each year. The budget also promotes partnerships with community organizations, including the Center for Youth, FoodLink, Together Now, and Genesee Mental Health. We actively listen and seek public input through family and community engagement activities, surveys, and expanded community participation on school and district committees. Great people are essential, so it's important that our school budget supports professional learning and career ladders so employees can continue to grow and thrive right here in Greece. With refined hiring practices, a focus on wellness, and the promotion of a positive school culture, it's now easier for Greece to attract and retain the best candidates in all job titles. Ensuring the safety of our students and staff is a critical responsibility. The budget places a high priority on safety by funding 35 full-time security personnel and 2 full-time armed school safety officers. Each year, staff participate in specialized school safety training in areas that include threat assessment, therapeutic crisis intervention, and emergency preparedness. We've also added safety monitoring tools and new technology to safeguard our schools from a variety of potential physical and cyber threats. We also believe a healthy and safe environment promotes educational equity and emotional wellness. The proposed budget expands funding for mental health professionals like social workers, psychologists, and behavior interventionists. It also supports drug resistance education and vaping intervention programs and funds on-campus substance abuse prevention coordinators. Greece continues to staff classrooms based on actual student and course enrollments, but we also consider other factors. The needs of our district have changed. More students require special education services and English as a new language programming. Poverty rates also continue to rise, which means Greece students often require specialized services and supports to reach their potential. The budget proposal includes 54.3 new staff positions, 84% of which target and strengthen the instructional program. We are able to add these positions thanks to permanent increases in foundation aid from New York State. It's important that the district operates efficiently. Each year, we evaluate our programs and services and identify efficiencies wherever possible. Approximately 75% of budget funding goes towards the instructional program. Our budget proposal remains within the tax levy cap for the 13th consecutive year and reduces the tax rate by 30 cents per $1,000 of assessed valuation. The 2023-24 budget proposal totals $290,752,050 and represents a budget-to-budget increase of just under $25 million. The 2023-24 tax levy increase is about $2.2 million, or 1.87% more than the 2022-23 tax levy. The 2023-24 tax rate is estimated to decrease by 30 cents per $1,000 of assessed valuation to $24.54, but will not be finalized until July 2023. If the budget is approved, a Greece homeowner with a house assessed at $170,000 would pay $51 less in school taxes next year. In addition to deciding on the budget, voters will also be asked to decide on a proposition to purchase 33 replacement school buses and 2 minivans for student transportation. Annual bus purchase propositions are part of the district's ongoing long-term plan to keep our bus fleet up to date and stabilize taxpayer cost. Approval of this proposition would not affect the tax levy or the tax rate. Voters will have the opportunity to select 3 candidates to represent them on the Board of Education. There are 6 people running for 3-year terms on the board. Incumbents William Maloney and Sean McCabe, and newcomers Todd Butler, Miguel Milan, Septimus Scott, and Jordan Stenzel. More information about the candidates can be found on the district website, greasecsd.org. Now that you know what you'll be voting on, let's review where to vote on May 16th. All Grease Central School District residents vote at one location, the district's Transportation and Support Services Facility located at 1790 Latta Road. Polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., and you must be a registered voter to cast a ballot. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about the 2023-24 budget proposal. If you need more information, please head to the district website, greasecsd.org. Education plays an important role in our community, so please remember to vote on May 16th.
So before we move on to a couple slides, that I wish to make a couple other notes on. I did want to share that, as Superintendent Groutman had indicated, it appears that the governor's office and the legislature have come to an agreement on the budget. We got budget runs, preliminary budget runs last evening, early today. Just wanted to share a couple items out there verbally. Since we learned about it today, I couldn't get it into the presentation. There's the majority of the bills that the legislature has approved are still being vetted and reviewed by our advocacy groups to be able to share out details on what's behind each of those pieces. The majority of them are done. There's still a couple days worth of work, so we'll be getting additional information over the next couple days. But a couple points to make. When we were aware of the governor's budget, state aid budget for us back in January, and we compared that to what the legislature has approved last night and today, the legislative budgeted state aid is actually less by about $265,000, $270,000 than what the governor had proposed back in January. Second point is, if you recall a few meetings back, we had taken the governor's budget from January, state aid recommendation, and through conversations with our financial consultants, we made adjustments to that budget, particularly to building aid, and we increased that building aid projection on the governor's run back in January by about $1.2 million. And that was because we're confident we're going to have reports in that will generate state aid for us that the governor's run didn't pick up. The building aid per the legislature in the building is equal to the building aid that the governor had proposed. When we increased that by the same factor, $1.2 million, the total number that we used for state aid in this presentation is about $152.3 million. We're within $200,000 of that number. So we weren't sure at the time what we were going to see, but I wanted to verbally and reasonably assure everybody we're within a couple $100,000 of what we included in this budget for state aid. We are fully confident that we will get that money and maybe some more as we go forward. So I'm still, what the board adopted and what we're putting out in public is a valid budget. There's no significant changes to those figures. Also, a couple other quick notes that we're aware of. It looks like the building level reporting that the governor wanted to do will end this school year, which will help out administratively a lot. It's a lot of work for now. Two, there's about 100, we were hopeful that we would see free universal meals for all students across the board. That is not in the legislative budget. There is $134 million allocated for free meals that are accessible to schools in low-income communities. Not sure what that means yet, but details will be coming out on that between tomorrow and the next day. And lastly, what we do know is minimum wage will go up over the next 2 years. I've seen numbers from $15 to $17.50, depending on where you are in the state. So I wanted to put that out there and do a verbal update for the board. Moving on, a couple points. The video covered this, but I did want to point out over on the right-hand side of that $25 million increase, $19.1 million, or about 77% of that, is strictly due to foundation aid increase. We are not spending a whole lot of money because we're spending it. We got a whole lot of money that they have made us whole on, that they've owed us for the last 15, 16 years. But foundation aid increase is the largest component increase in this budget of 9.39% increase. Almost 8.5% of that 9.39 is strictly due to more revenues coming into us from the state. Second item I wanted to touch on was this slide with the tax bill. I just wanted to make a note that these are savings that we anticipate. If your house was assessed at $170,000 last year, it's reassessed at $170,000 this year. You should see $51 decrease in your tax bill. That's with no star, basic star, and enhanced star. And I did want to point out at the bottom, the basic star maximum amount that can be adjusted from your tax bill is $734 as indicated, and the enhanced star exemption is capped at $1,574. In past years, that number has changed and has increased, but for 23-24, that cap is the same as what it has been the last 2 years. And lastly, I wanted to show a couple examples of a couple of reports. The last couple of weeks, there had been some questions asked and some comments made regarding line item budgets within the budget book. There is a requirement on us from New York State that we have to provide a budget book, and the reporting in that book, we meet minimally, and we have additional information in that book. However, we can't go to print with that book until the board adopts the budget. So when the budget was adopted on April 18th, the book became available the Friday or the Monday following board adoption. Within that book, and these are just a couple examples, we provide detail, what we refer to detail by object. So what you see on here is just an example. You can see how much in the 23-24 budget is spent on salary for pre-K teachers, K-6 teachers, 7-12 teachers, how much we're proposing for equipment, contracted services, supplies, tuitions, BOCES expenses. You can see those within the budget book. Additionally, we also break down the budget by function. Function is traditionally for the non-instructional side. Department of Finance, auditing, tax collection fee, purchasing, again, same information. Department of Finance, you can see the instructional salaries, the non-instructional salaries, how much is budgeted for contractual services, materials, and supplies. And similarly, on the education side of it, you can see teaching regular school, broken down by object. Students with disability, this is their line item budget. Occupational education. These are only 2 or 3 of 7 or 8 pages in the budget book, but I wanted to make a point of making sure that everybody knows the budget book is available on the website. It is available at district office. It is available to any resident who wishes to see it. We will get you an electronic or a hard copy within short order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clilly. All right, with that, I'm going to call the public budget hearing to order. We have nobody signed up, so I'm going to close the public budget hearing. Moving on to staffing, 3.01. Can I ask someone to move the staffing to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Flores, seconded by Ms. Farmer. Any comments, questions, or concerns on staffing? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Moving on to the Jewel agreement, can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Farmer, seconded by Ms. Flores. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 7-0. Can I have somebody move the non-unit rate sheet to the table, please? Moved by Vice President Laura, seconded by Mr. Sawicki. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 7-0. Moving on 3.04, GTA MOA additional FTE. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Farmer, seconded by Ms. Flores. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 7-0. Moving on to the Gus MOA title edition. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Farmer, seconded by Mr. Sawicki. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor. That passes 7-0. Moving on to item 3.06, a 913 resolution. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Sawicki, seconded by Mrs. Oh, Ms. Farah, I didn't see your hand. You got to raise your hand. Ms. Farah. Oh, I didn't see it. I was looking the other way. All right. With that, any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing that all is in favor. That passes 7-0. Moving on to 5.01, recruitment, hiring, and retention presentation. Superintendent Groutman.
Yes, so as you know, we have had a large focus on recruitment, hiring, and retention. Like many fields, there is a struggle oftentimes to find people, good people to work, and also just a lack of people wanting to work in the first place. We have provided multiple touch points on this for the Board of Education and also multiple presentations publicly because we want to make sure that we're really promoting the efforts and the work that's going on within this department. And I would say just personally, having been in Greece for 20 years and also looking across and talking with my colleagues, we've done more really targeted, coherent work, really good work in this area, and we have seen the payoff of that in a lot of areas and are in a much better spot, even though I know we still struggle and are short in some spaces, are in a much better place than many places in the county and the state and in the nation. So with that, just from a little context, I'd like to have Mr. Smallene and Mrs. Larson come on up from HR to give us some updates in terms of the work that you're doing. I know we heard about it in the fall, but this is a great time to provide some updates.
Okay, good evening. Gina and myself are very excited to have the opportunity to share with all of you a summary of the work that has taken place throughout the year in the area of staff retention and recruitment. When we're also excited to share some of the work that we're just starting and that we look to continue as we roll into the summer and throughout the next school year. Okay. So one of our areas of focus from the Department of Human Resources and with our Committee on Recruiting and Retention was we really wanted to focus, part of our focus was to look at our branding. What we wanted to do was have very clear, concise language that demonstrates our commitment to our employees of what you get in return from coming to work within Greece. We wanted our employees to know that when you come to Greece, it is a place where employees, we want them to feel supported, and we want them to feel empowered to reach their own professional goals. So that is clear language that we will continue to promote with our people and as a way to recruit other strong candidates to come to Greece. So one of the areas that that we wanted to do in collaboration with Laurel was that we wanted to spend, let me back up a little bit, I apologize. We have spent a great deal of time for our department and the Committee on Recruiting and Retention just researching best practices in this area of recruitment and retention. We were not aware as we went into this work how much actual information is out there when it comes to being very intentional when it comes to recruiting and when it comes to retention.
one of the pieces that was shared to us from Laurel was the idea of an employee value proposition. And this is something that is used throughout schools, throughout the district, or excuse me, throughout the country, and also in private industry. And when you look at an employee value proposition, this is a commitment that we as an organization are giving back to the employees in return for their services and their time. So our department, and in collaboration with our Committee on Recruiting and Retention, drafted what we'd like to begin is our own employee value proposition. And an employee proposition, as you can see here, is aligned to our strategic plan, our REACH 2027 strategic plan. And what we hope to do today and throughout the rest of this presentation is demonstrate to you all of the work that we've done throughout the year that falls in alignment with our strategic plan. And at that point, I'll let Gina take over.
So in the area of recruitment and retention, in speaking about district-based recruiting events, to Kathy's point, we have a lot of pride points. So we've now held a number of district-based events using our own employees as the key resources to recruit new employees. You've heard us speak about the successes in the past with our facilities and operations event, our transportation events, and our AgSep support staff events. Our most recent event was last Tuesday, which was GTA, held right in this room, and we were really excited to hold that event. It was open interviews. Maybe you saw it on TV. There was a 5-second commercial that ran, I think, 180 to 200 times over the course of, I think, 6 or 7 days. So we had that opportunity to get out there. We also had a lot of signage out front. We had lots of traffic through here. We actually were able to get 80 teachers in this room over the course of that night. Now, maybe 80 doesn't sound like a lot to you, but for those of us that have had a hard time finding certified individuals and finding candidates to actually come, 80 is an incredible number. I'm actually really looking forward to meeting with my RASPA group, which is all of the HR individuals from the area, to kind of boast about that number, about them coming through. So we were very excited to hold that event, and today we actually hired our first individual already from that event, and I'm extra happy to say that it was a Spanish teacher. And Spanish is one of our, yay, one of our hardest areas to fill. So success built on success. In addition to that, we staffed that event with our own people. So it wasn't just human resources staffing that event. It was our building administrators, our district administrators, and in addition to that, it was 12 parents. So our parents who came to our recruitment event, or came to our parent training event, and then signed up to come and sit next to an administrator, either from a building or a district, to interview prospective employees. So very powerful, really exciting. We're jazzed about it. So that was really successful, and I credit much of that success to that partnership that we've started to build. So we look forward to that continuing. In addition, we have upgraded our website. You'll see when you go to our website now, it's much easier to navigate to our job opportunities tab. Laurel has helped us out with navigating to that site. When you click on it, it also brings you to information about Greece Central with lots of videos and other information, as well as information about the town of Greece and the Rochester area, and that is for anyone who is looking to relocate to this area. There's lots of information there. Additionally, on that same page, we have now added the community referral form. This is something that we talked about as a goal back in the fall, and now it is finally coming to fruition. We're very excited about it. This is something where a current employee or a community member can recommend a friend or family member or someone that they know to come and work in Greece. It's on the website, and once it's filled out, it comes to Human Resources, and we disseminate it out to our directors and supervisors, and then they can reach out to the individual. This form has only been live for a couple of weeks, and we've already hired our first individual, and that individual is a psych aide. Again, a really, really hard position to fill in the district, and to give some context, that person had not previously applied to the district. They were recommended, we reached out, and they said, Sure, I'll give it a try. So a lot of success there. All right. In the area of employee and community engagement, you've heard me talk a lot about the interview training. We're always looking for ways to expand our opportunities. As I've spoken about a number of times, we've formally trained 37 parents for interviews, and we've already engaged many of them in interviewing this spring. Not only the 12 parents that came to our event last week, but a number of them have already been involved in our administrative interviews for different positions that we're hiring both at the building level and at the district level. We are looking for more ways to engage them. The issue that we're running into now is that we have so many parents that want to be involved, and there's only so many interview processes that we have. So it's a good problem to have right now, but one of our goals for this coming year will be working on decentralizing some of our processes and running more at the building level so that we can engage more parents in the process. So we will be working on that and making sure that those processes are run just as tight as they are at the district level, but still engaging our parents as much as we can. The District Shared Decision-Making Committee has been tasked with revising the shared decision-making plan for the district, and this plan is one that ensures that voice in decisions, ensures that voice in decisions are made, and it outlines how voice is gathered district-wide. And that committee includes voice from outlines how voice is gathered, and it includes multiple stakeholders from all levels throughout the district, as well as a parent member. We have expanded our professional learning opportunities. I know we've spoken about that at the past few board meetings, to the tune of over 400 opportunities within our professional learning system. And if you can't find anything in those 400 opportunities, you can certainly look around the county as well. Right now, our focus has been heavily on GTA because that is something that's outlined in their contract, and they're also the users of our frontline system. But our goal in the coming year will be to look at our other units as well to make sure that we are finding professional learning opportunities for them, making sure that we're meeting their needs. And in the area of agency and acknowledgement, we've spoken a little bit about stay interviews, and that's something that we're going to be focusing in on for the remainder of this year and into next year. We're looking for more informative ways to gather input from our employees, and one of those new ways is through stay interviews. In the past, we've used exit interviews to gather input when an employee leaves the system, but that really only gives us that rear view look. Stay interviews are an opportunity to speak to an employee when they're still with us, giving us an opportunity into some insight as to what some current needs might be for that specific employee or for our system. It's a way that we can build relational capital with that employee and with teams, as well as building trust. This has been a key focus for our recruitment and retention team, as well as with the Department of Human Resources, and something that we are just starting to expand to our extended cabinet, and then we'll look to expand it beyond that in the coming months. Another way that we look to celebrate and acknowledge our employees is through a number of different celebrations. Coming up soon, we have our 10-year celebration and retirement celebration. We have our years of service, which is celebrated in June, and that starts with 10 years of service. And then we have a number of smaller opportunities that happen at the building level and within departments, and that could be anything from earning civil service titles, passing your CDL test, earning a master's degree, passing a teaching assistant's exam, and many other celebrations. So we're always looking for ways to honor our employees.
Okay, and under career ladders, with career ladders, this is how we promote within and encourage employees to grow and develop right here in Greece. So last year, we did go through, renegotiate all of our union contracts, and within each of those contracts that already had this language in there, we looked to not only keep that in the contracts, but we also looked to add different opportunities for people to grow within the district. So that might look like lead positions that you might see in a Teamsters contract. You could see lead positions that are now embedded in the GUS contract. So that's contract language that we wanted to hold on to. You also see that opportunity with our teachers in GTA, with teacher on special assignments that have the opportunity to step out of the classroom, work district-wide, and that just demonstrates other areas where they can continue to grow that they might not see if they were remaining in their classroom. In addition to that, we've spent over the past couple years, we've actually taken a deeper look at some of our organizational structures. Me personally, within the Department of Human Resources, this was a large focus a couple years ago, and using HR as an example, we looked to find ways that when somebody comes into a department like Human Resources, how can they see an opportunity where they can grow and continue to build their career rather than coming into a position and that's the only position they could stay in. We've also looked at some restructuring within the Department of Pupil Personnel Services, where somebody coming into that department can see a career ladder opportunity if that's the path that they want to take. So this has been a key focus of us as we continue to grow and look to recruit people that they could see that there's opportunity when they come to Greece, that when you come here, there's opportunity to grow if that's the decision that you choose to go. We also, in our negotiations, have continued to keep tuition reimbursement as part of the contractual language. That provides people the opportunity to look for other opportunities within their own field. You could take, a lot of our teachers have gone back for leadership type of positions. We've embedded that in the Teamsters contract that stays there, so there's opportunities for them to grow and take coursework if they so choose. And finally, our hiring practices. So this has been a large focus for the Department of Human Resources over the past few years, and that's really just refining our hiring practices so that we can select the best, highly qualified, diverse candidates who represent our core values. One piece that we took a look at just recently was revising the language that's within our job postings. Over the years, our postings have remained the same, and what we wanted to do was that when our postings are out in public, that they demonstrate our values and our commitments here in Greece. So shortly, you'll see that that language will be on all of our postings that represent what we stand for here in Greece. We continue to refine our interview process. Gina mentioned it earlier that we've spent a great deal of time working with our administrators and their building level team to demonstrate our interview process. What we'd like to do now as you go into the next year is how can we take that and push that back into not only the buildings but across all the unions so that when they're hiring, it's a streamlined process, it's consistent across the district, and that we're using what we called behavior-based questions that allow for each of the candidates to demonstrate their skills, their values, and their beliefs so we get the best candidate when we make that recommendation for hire. And lastly, we are looking for new opportunities or new or innovative ways to recruit. So right now, what you're seeing across the county, and especially here in Greece, people are going from one district to another, and it's almost like the Wild West. And so we have to compete with those other districts that are looking for the same openings that we have. So we're exploring different innovative ways. One of the incentives that we're looking at is possibly student loan reimbursements. So how can we attract that? Something that's done in the private industries. Schools are beginning to look at that, but we want to be the first to see if that would incentivize somebody to come to Greece. We have tuition reimbursement, but that's not necessarily appropriate for everybody, but some people are coming with those loans, and that could be a way to stagger some of those payments. So by staying longer, you could see that the student loans could be an option to keep them and look at our district versus some of the other districts. So that's a summary of what we've done, a little bit about what we hope to do, and at this point, is there any questions? Vice President Moore?
I had an opportunity to come to the recruitment event last week, and it was just amazing. If I was someone not from the district and I walked into this room, I would have been overwhelmed by just the welcomeness of it, the brightness of it, everyone was saying hello and welcoming, and I'm thrilled to know that many people came. I was here for about an hour and a half, and there was a steady flow. So hopefully more of those. It looked great.
Any other comments? Ms. Flores?
I just also want to congratulate you on the hiring event. I have had the opportunity to speak to not a huge population, but a few people who have both applied as well as just been recently hired by our district. I know our contract has played in with some ideas, and I've heard, and one of those people happens to be a GTA representative for their district that they currently work in. It's quite apparent that Greece is a coveted district, and it is very well thought of when it comes to people thinking about switching districts and why. So I'd like to definitely say thank you to our administration for creating an environment where, in a context of places where we are struggling to find people, that 80 people showed up here.
Thank you. And one of the things that I neglected to mention is that we actually had our GTA president on hand here as well, who certainly did not have to come, but came. He was on hand with his table, and, you know, greeting people, reaching out, talking about the union, you know, talking about all the great things going on in Greece. And I think that is just one more nod to, you know, the great relationships that we have here.
So I apologize. Besides my comment, I do have a question, and I'm not sure that the question should be directed to you, but maybe to Vale, Kathy, or Mike. Why is staffing retention important to us? What happens to the students in our district if we are in an environment where we have teachers who are constantly leaving, or we have chaos and constant change, especially within our administration, and where we find there is not unity and the message that we send across to our students for what they're teaching, different things like that. What does that kind of district look like, and what happens to those kids?
I would say it's a different environment now. Like Gina had said, that people have choice. So we look differently at how we're presented in the community, because it does have an impact, because teachers, people who don't want to be in an adversarial environment have choice where they haven't had in the past. And we all know there's so much to teaching, more than just teaching your students. So it can negatively impact for sure.
So if we have a tremendous amount of change within our district that would negatively impact the learning abilities of our students, would that be a correct statement?
It could.
Thank you.
I could add, just from being a building principal, within a school or any large organization, time or change takes time. And I think sometimes people get frustrated with that. But when you're looking to change within an organization like this, before that change could actually take place, you need, people have to understand the why. And that takes time to look at data and allow a staff in a building to understand, you know, why that change is necessary, thinking program, whatever that may be. And so that process takes time if you're going to do it right and do it with fidelity. So when you have turnover within a building, whether it's the building principal or whoever it may be, when you lose that consistency, you either are starting over to go back to the why so everybody understands the purpose behind that, or you're just implementing that change, which you could do top down and people can follow the direction. But without the why, you typically will not get the impact that you're looking to get with that change. So turnover, being in a building, I was at Long Ridge, where we would have some turnover. What leads to that is you just never get that change fully implemented to see the results. So that's how I would see that turnover within a building. I don't know if that answers your question.
I would also just add, I mean, that we're in a relationship field. So our teachers get better because of relationships with one another and with their administration in terms of building networks of support. So, and that takes time. So to build relationships, to learn curriculum, to learn strategies, all does take time. So the idea of consistency matters. And the more disruptive and the more turnover is in a school, particularly with teachers and with administration, there is direct connection to research related to achievement in terms of that declining or not being as good. So yes, I would say that clearly.
Thank you.
And I would also add you can't have retention, or you can't have effective recruitment without quality retention and culture. So you can recruit as much as you like and push and try to bring people in, but if the culture doesn't, if it's not desirable, all of that recruiting really is meaningless. So they go hand in hand with one another, so you can't really effectively recruit if you're not focused on retention.
Any other questions? All right, thank you both. Thank you. Moving on, item 5.02, safety and security, Superintendent Groutman.
So we have talked at length about security and safety in our district. We've talked specifically about the idea that it is a system. So Mr. Chatterton is here this evening to talk to us about safety and security and give us an update. But I want to point out just the complexity of this work, the difficulty of this work. It involves everything from infrastructure to staffing to training. It's a huge set of work, but it's also our #1 priority in a school district to keep our kids and our staff safe. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Chatterton to give us some updates.
Greetings. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Steve Chatterton. I'm the Director of Security for the Greece Central School District. I'm a retired police captain. I've been running security for about 10 years. The overview I'm about to give you is not about me. It's about my team. I have an assistant security director, which is John Henderson. I have a safety coordinator, which is Mike Scaley, and then I have several qualified security supervisors at the high schools that we're constantly in communication with to keep these standards up to date. And as I wind my career down, I'm going to be very frank with some of the issues facing security in schools as we go forward. I sat back the last few months and listened to board candidates talk about security. There's a lot of misinformation spewed out there, not true. Some things that came forward, no one's ever asked me my opinion. So it's nice to get up here in front and explain what we do and how it's a 24-hour, 7 operation. And then I don't want to leave out my secretary, my administrative assistant, who does all my ordering, everything, Lori, sitting in the back, because I don't even know how to get into WinCap. So I just want to make sure we throw that out there. We have safety plans. Our safety plans are top-notch in the state. I urge you as a board to fight with New York State Ed as you go forward and get some of the ridiculous requirements removed from the safety plans. They're good in concept. They're not listening to retired police captains. They're not listening to retired police chiefs. We are required to post our safety plan on our website. Think about that. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Every year when I send our safety plan in, I tell them how ridiculous it is. Our plan is very general. It's on our website. But several districts throughout the state accidentally put their building level plans, which are their confidential plans, on their website, which hurts other districts like us that are trying to protect our integrity, protect the way we do things, because other districts have to follow the same standards and they post everything on their website. Our building level plans are also second to none, but again, there's a problem with New York State Ed there. The theory in 2014 was to get everybody to submit their building level plans, which is a great in theory. Those safety plans go absolutely nowhere. Once I hit submit to them, they disappear. Police departments cannot access them. They contain our floor plans and things like that. But when we download them, we have to actually hand deliver them to the police department. The floor plans are not readable. The confidential information is not readable. So they make all these requirements, and they're really a waste of everyone's time. I just saw some proposed legislation to add, signage to football fields, put those in your safety plans. It'll take school districts that are not used to that hours and hours and hours to do that, and it will go absolutely nowhere, and it makes our students no safer than they were before the safety plans were submitted. And we've been passed by private security industries that are making schools safer, that are better than New York State Ed, and we actually chose to go that route, which I'll go over in a little bit. Our security guards are part of our system. We talk about staffing levels. Our staffing levels are second to none at the high school level. We have almost more high school security guards than anybody else in the county. One of our biggest challenges is civil service. We can't hire qualified people because of civil service laws, rules, testing they're giving. I have 3 people waiting to hire right now, and I can't hire them because there's not a valid list. I've also had to let security guards go because they couldn't pass a test based on, and they've done the job for 2 years, and I had to let them go because they couldn't pass a written test. So civil service needs to be addressed, in my opinion, going forward for the hiring of security guards. We have a threat assessment team that's second to none in Monroe County. I'm a certified Homeland Security threat assessment instructor. Every building has a threat assessment team. Our district has a district-wide threat assessment team. This came out of Parkland, and if you recall, back in 2019, we actually made national news for stopping a bombing of kids that were planning to do damage to our school. So we're constantly using systems in place to try to stop the pathway to violence and stop kids from going down that route. So our threat assessment team is a model for other agencies or other schools throughout Monroe County. We're constantly doing prevention and mediation. So yes, we still have fights in our building, absolutely. But we would have many more if my team was not doing their job, if we didn't have the relationship with the police department that we have, that let us know that things happen outside of hours. Just tonight, I've taken 3 calls outside of hours for things going on outside of school. Nothing to do with school, but I'd be able to call my team, and I'll text them as early as 6 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, pull these 2 kids off the bus and get them separated, and let's do some mediation. So my team is very good at doing that. We're in constant communication from 6 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night to prevent things from happening. So who knows what we've prevented? You can't measure preventing fights, but I know in my mind we've done it hundreds of times. We've done the standard things that other districts have done too. We've added cameras, so we have almost 60 cameras in every high school now and middle school. We have extra cameras in elementary schools. We've made double entrances, bullet-resistant glass, lockdown buttons, panic buttons, everything standard. If someone wants to do damage to your school, they can do damage to your school, but we've made the target harder, and we cover every New York State standard possible. We're one of very few school districts that do that in case we are audited. We did lose our SROs, which was very highly publicized, but we did not lose our relationship with the police department. I speak with the deputy chief probably an average of 3 times a week about getting reports, about ongoing issues, about concerns we have. He's very receptive. If I need a report, he gets me a report. I send him an email that serves as our foil, and I get the report. So they're very cooperative with us. They help us, and our relationship with them has not changed. They, in turn, call us 24/7 so that we may have a missing kid. They might want to know who they hang out with, so I can call my supervisors and say, hey, who does this kid hang out with? We help with the police department find our kids off hours. We help families, and we do as much as we can to help the police with our students and keep them out of trouble as possible. We also have a communication process in place so that every assistant superintendent and the superintendent know exactly what's going on in every building, every day. So they get updates constantly. We have a group text message. We have daily emails, and we talk about the issues that we need to fix. Then in addition to that, based on Parkland report, we have anonymous reporting, which is a safe school hotline. We're possibly looking at replacing that with the app that we're going with very shortly. And then we also have Lightspeed. So Lightspeed actually monitors our students' Chromebooks, and anytime they're on our internet, about what they're searching. So we have keywords triggered. Most of these alerts are related to self-harm. And I said to you in executive session at the beginning when Lightspeed came out, I was the most annoying thing I've ever dealt with because I was getting 30 a day. But we've made adjustments to that, and we've saved kids' lives, that were thinking about self-harm, that might have been talking to the suicide hotline live on our Chromebook. We call their parents. We send somebody to the house. Sometimes we send police to the house. But we're constantly monitoring their activity, and our principals monitor them all day and call kids down to the office and ask why they're searching certain things. And it really helps us on a prevention aspect of it. Our district safety officer, a review of them so far, I'm never going to say negative things about our SROs. I loved our SROs. I'm sorry that it didn't work out, but our replacement has been a 10 out of 10. So we decided to go with armed security officers who are retired police officers And there's advantages to that. You know, they work for us. SROs work for the police department, so we couldn't control their time off. They had to pick up a police car. They had to come to the, you know, they had to come to the school. You know, there's delay there. They, you know, get their lunch breaks. They have vacation. They have training. They have sick days. So we were paying for all that. Now we have district safety officers. We hired Eric Hughes, who I will never say enough about. If you ever see him interact with kids, it's amazing. He's there from 7 to 3 every day. He doesn't take a lunch. He's actually there 7 to 3:30 every day. Does not take a lunch. Most days he's there 6:45 to 7. He has an outstanding relationship with the kids. Everyone knows he used to be a police officer. We didn't give him days off. He hasn't taken a sick day, and he's there every day for 8 hours. So he's a 10 out of 10. Todd Gamir's at the other school, same thing. You know, we control them. So we did not lose our cooperation with the police department. Because we don't have SROs because of a cost dispute does not mean we don't have a relationship with our police department. They still have our swipe cards. Every cop in the town of Greece, they get hired, they get a swipe card. They get into our buildings in case of an emergency. They still can call me 24/7. If I don't answer the phone, they know to call John. If John doesn't answer, they know to call the security phone. So we still have access to them. I still have the North and South Cars phones, which are bosses, so we don't have to call 911. We call the boss, and the boss assigns a car, which is a huge advantage because we get information much quicker than going through 911. And that was at the permission of the deputy chief. He said, call the North and the South call. You don't have to call 911. So we are looking at some new things moving forward. We're always adjusting things. We're looking at policies. We're looking at changing a couple policies on use of our facilities, which hopefully goes before you very soon. Times have changed. 5 years ago, I would have told you I would never even consider weapons detection. And you know, this is not what you're thinking about. This is not metal detectors. This is a weapons detection system that's highly advanced that we researched with our safety team. I'll go over that in a second. But it was in response to parents' concerns, students' concerns, and it was a response of social media posts. We've never dealt with social media posts with kids flashing guns before. Now we do. I have still never seen a real gun in school. 10 years, 11,000 students per year. I've never seen a gun in school. So does that mean it can't happen? Absolutely not. With what's happening in the United States, we have a duty to protect our students. So this is, in response to that, and a lot of why we're thinking of doing this is outside of school issues, not inside of school issues. So we involved the safety team. So we looked at 2 different systems. One is called Evolve. You'll see it at, like football games, and you'll see it at, they're actually in Vegas now. Evolve is in Vegas. And it's not your traditional metal detector. You walk through several people at a time. You don't have to empty your pockets, and it will pick up different things. Evolve we did not like because several reasons. Cost was $800,000 for 4 units, 4 double units. It's a lease, you don't own it, and it did not pick up knives. So, and like I've said, I've never seen a gun. It picked up, guns and bombs, which the first thing the kids are going to do is Google Evolve, and the first thing that comes up is it does not pick up knives. So to me, it didn't serve as a deterrent, and also it was very heavy, 350 pounds, you can't move it. We want to be able to move it out, use it for football games, because at football games, we're having people from all over the county show up. It's not just our students. It might be, from Gates, from Irondequoit, from the city, so we don't know who's there, and we figure this will give us help. So we looked at, we decided as a safety team to take on the whole task. It was unanimous to try OpenGate because you can fix the settings and you can pick up knives. And we talked to school districts who use it and said that they had to assign custodians outside to pick up the vapes, to pick up the drugs, to pick up the different things that it picks up, and it picks up knives, depending on the setting. So this is a trial. It's a true trial. I do not have my mind made up on whether we're going to use this or not. But we want to see how fast it gets the kids through, how many false alarms we get. Our intention is not to search kids and make them feel like they're in prison. They're literally going to walk through. If it goes through, I'm actually going to design the setup like the Tampa Bay Rays have. I went to a Tampa Bay Rays game. I walked through. My wife and daughter walked through. They didn't go off. I went off, right? I have this bulky wallet, metal wallet. So I went off, but instead of searching me, they had me empty my pockets and go through a second one. So I was never physically searched. I just emptied my pockets, put it through, I went through, and I passed. So my goal is to take the 4 that we have on trial, I know where I'm putting one of them, and then the other 3 are going to go to another school, but 2 of them will be the main, and the second will be the backup, and only worst case scenario would we have to search a kid. So my goal is to make them feel safe, and make sure it works, make sure we don't have a lot of false alarms. So my mind's not been made up, but why I like this is because even if we decide not to use them at school, I'll use them at football games, so it's not a waste of money. If they don't work, we come to you in a couple months and we say, you know what, we didn't like them, and we're not going to go forward with them. If they work and, it cuts down on our vapes and it cuts down on kids coming in and with weapons and it makes kids feel safer, then we'll get more and we'll put them at all the high schools. So no decision has been made, and I don't want it to seem like it has been. The other thing we're going to is we went to a safety app. It's called the TAP app in CLPS. It's a safety platform. So since I've been here, I've been approached by about 5 different companies trying to sell us a safety app. I've looked at all of them. None of them have ever impressed me. We actually found this one because we were looking for threat assessment software to document what we were doing and to protect the district. So this isn't just an app, it's a complete platform that every school will have access to, puts a lot more responsibility on principals, and it makes the director's security job much easier to keep track of our drills, are their safety teams meeting. Most audits that come out, they get gigged for having a safety team, but the safety team never met, or the threat assessment team is existent, but it never met. So this will ensure the principals are allowed on the back end to enter all their drills, all their safety information. It gives us sample policies which have been vetted by attorneys in education. It's FERPA compliant, it's New York State Ed compliant, and it allows us to do so much more than just the app, but I'll explain the app in a second. It also has an anonymous student platform, so that if we decided we wanted to replace Safe School Hotline with an app, which kids use app, they don't use phones. And, we went and watched a rollout at another district, and all the kids said they would rather use an app than a phone line. And Safe School Hotline is $12,000 a year. This app is included with the platform. So that'll save some of that. It also has a threat assessment module that actually will help our counselors document what they do when we do get a light speed alert. So as a counselor gets a light speed alert, they're going to be threat team managers. They'll be allowed to go into the software. They'll only see their cases. They'll enter the student's information, and if they put it's a suicide assessment, they automatically get the Columbia rating scale. And then they can download it. They can give it to the parents, they can show what the scale showed, and it covers the district because it'll say what we did to help that student. And they can even set a reminder to interview that student a week later after they've done everything, and so they can call the student in, they'll get an email reminder. Same thing for threat assessment. So for threat assessment, if they enter it as a threat assessment case, we'll automatically get the Dewey Cornell rating scale, which is very outdated, not designed for schools, but this company actually has one of the top gurus in Homeland Security and threat management, like 3 steps higher than me, and he helped develop it, and he has a new scale going in front of Homeland Security that is just for schools, much shorter, and designed just for us. And it's in the final stages of being approved, and once it's approved, it will be in the software, and our team will be able to use that rather than Dewey Cornell, because Dewey Cornell is very long survey. Our old Dewey Cornell survey to determine if a student was a risk was like 24 pages long. So this will help us on that. It also helps us, the app portion of it is on your phone. It's going to take care of so many of our problems with communicating with teachers, with communicating with administrators, with communicating during an emergency. It's simply an app on your phone that we'll give to all teachers. I'm going to try to show you what it looks like here. And when you open it up, it has the standardized shelter in place, hold in place, evacuation, lockout, lockdown. So we'll be able to put every school into a hold in place, and we don't have to make phone calls. So if something used to happen, the security supervisor of the school would call me. I would call John, I would call Mike, I would call the district safety officers, and we're making 10 phone calls on the way to the school. Now, we put this on all our administrators' phones already, we put it on all our security phones already. We had an emergency the other day at Greece Athena, a fire alarm was pulled. By the time my phone went off, I looked, there were already 4 people in the app communicating in the app. It becomes a group text message inside the app, and it labels who's talking. So I was able to see my security supervisors in the app say we're on the way. I was able to see my security district officers say they're on the way. I was able to see my security supervisor at Athena say it was a kid pulling the alarm. It was a freezing cold day. We have it hooked into our transportation department, so they know if they get the alert and it's under 32 degrees, they automatically start sending us buses, no phone calls. And we had the kids back in the building in 5 minutes. So we're also linking this to the fire department. We just had a meeting with the police department and 911 and Officer of Emergency Management, and our goal is to get 911 into this so that they'll get lockdowns only. So by the time, if we ever had an unlikely event of an active shooter or a risk to our students, somebody activates this, it goes right to 911. They would be sending cars before they even have their first 911 call. And then we'll be able to communicate through the app. But more importantly, we've installed all this fancy equipment for lockdowns, lockdown buttons, blue buttons, and you turn the knob and it makes our swipe cards inactive. It turns off everything. It puts gates down. It gets everyone to lock the door. It makes an announcement. It's scary, right? We have a much higher chance of having a false alarm for those lockdowns that causes panic than we actually do a real lockdown. So this solves that problem because it'll be on all teachers' phones, and we'll be able to get into that app and actually say, this is a false alarm, and they'll see Steve Chatterton's name on it, or they'll see the head security supervisor, and then we'll be able to communicate. We're going to follow a procedure. We're going to come unlock your door with law enforcement. And then at least that eases everybody, and they understand it's a false alarm. Irondequoit just had a false alarm. It lasted 2 hours with guns being drawn, kids texting their parents, teachers not knowing what was going on, people crying. That will not happen with this app. This takes care of all that. It takes care of so many of our problems, like teachers on the playground. Always we're asking, how do I get notified if there's a hold in place in the building? How do I get notified if there's a lockdown? So now they'll be able to get into the app, see what's going on, and then if they're on the playground, we always teach them, walk to your evacuation route. They'll be able to get into the app and put a message in there. If I'm at Olympia, I'm taking my class to Buckman. So we know where they're at and we can get in. Also allows them to take attendance. It also allows them to put in missing students. And it also allows them to see the incident command system of who's in charge of the building. And I was able to drag our portal plans into the app. So now the useless portal that I told you about, that it goes nowhere, I can download it into the app. So now it's not useless anymore, but it's not because of New York State Ed. It's because of a private company making New York safer than New York State Ed is. So we're excited about both things because we think it'll make our building safer. We think it'll improve our communication. So far, we had only planned on rolling the app and the platform out to a couple schools because my daughter's boyfriend turns on my internet. I don't even know how to do that stuff, and I was able to figure this out. So if I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. And then once we started rolling it out to schools, everyone loved it. The teacher said it gave them, at ease. We got it for transportation, because transportation has no lockdown buttons or alarms. So we bought it for transportation in this building here. We got it for Phoenix, and it looks like we're going to be followed by about 10 other school districts, and then we'll be able to communicate with those districts that we were in a lockdown or a lockout just by sharing it with them, which makes it much easier. So we're excited moving forward. And again, I appreciate you letting us come here and tell you what our team does, because like I said, I have a team. I have Tom Jenkins doing my cameras. I have Scott Naramore doing my PA. I have Kurt Keller doing my facilities and all my installs. So this is not just me. This is my team. So we're excited moving forward what we're doing in security. Questions?
Questions? All right. Thank you very much.
That was
Director
easy.
Chatter. And with that, we're going to recess for 10 minutes. Welcome back to our Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 Board of Education meeting. Can we have one meeting? Thank you. All righty then. 6.01, change orders. Can I have somebody move the change orders to the table, please? Moved by Mrs. Flores, seconded by Mrs. Farmer. Any comments, questions, or concerns on those? The only comment I will make is those change orders amount to approximately $58,770. With that, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Moving on to 6.02, extra classroom activities report. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Vice President Malloy, second by Mr. Swicky. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 7-0. Moving on to anticipated bids. It's written information only. Does anybody have any questions? All right, moving on to budget revenue and status report. That's information only. Does anybody have any questions on that? All righty, consent agenda. Can I have somebody move the consent agenda to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Swicky, seconded by Ms. Flores. Any comments, questions, concerns on the consent agenda? I'm just going to thank, let me get to that page here. I would like to thank the Arcadia Extra Classroom Fund for their donations. I would like to thank Wegmans for their donation in the memory of Ray Ballman to the, sponsored by the Greece Arcadia Class of 1972. The Athena Middle Extra Classroom Report, or Extra Classroom Fund, the Olympia Extra Classroom Fund, and at Holmes Road, Samola Consulting for donations towards the purchase of laptops for school assemblies in the following areas with the library, phys ed, art room, and school-wide celebration. So thank you to Samola Consulting for that. With that, all those in favor of the consent agenda? That passes 7-0. Moving on to item 11.01, the approval of the chairperson for the district election. Can I someone move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Farmer, seconded by Mr. Bonagorio. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Can I have somebody move the election inspector approval to the table, please? Moved by Vice President Moore, seconded by Mr. Swicky. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Now we're in the second read of policies. Mr. Swicky.
Could I make a motion to move them all together?
Absolutely. Is there a second on that? Seconded by Vice President Malloy. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to separate all these. There's many comments that we do have to make. There's several of these. This might take a minute. This was actually supposed to be up for discussion. I see on our sheet that if we wanted to provide a discussion, we were able to do so. So,
okay.
Kind of putting them all together will kind of defeat that unless we can kind of summarize.
Just for clarification, is there a certain policy, or you want to talk about each policy? Because it's our second read on them, so that's my question.
Well, if there's something that anyone would like to say, it's open to the floor for anybody to add any comments. But yes, there are several comments that people can make.
Okay. Mr. Bonagorio?
Yeah, I'd like to get some clarification on policy, pardon me 1 second, 8130 at the back of our class.
Can't hear you, Mark.
Thank you.
Sorry.
8130, equal educational opportunities?
Yes.
Okay, any other comments?
What do you mean, as far as providing more comments?
Yeah, we have a motion now to move them all as one. You just made a comment speaking against it. Mr. Bonagorio made a comment speaking against it.
Mr. McCabe, it wasn't a comment speaking against, it was to get some clarification.
Okay, well, the motion on the table is to move them all as one.
Thank you, okay.
And so right now, that's the motion on the table. Is there any other comments on that motion, moving them as one? All right, all those in favor of moving them as one, please raise your hand. Those opposed? It passes 5-2. We're going to move them all as one. All right, with that, they're all before you. Does anybody have any questions on any of them before you, or would like to make a comment on any of them before you as a group? Ms. Farr?
Yes, bear with me 1 second. There's about 10 policies here. All right, let's see. This is regarding
and I'm just gonna make while you're finding, these went through our policy committee at the district level, it's a board level committee. They were all passed forward to the board unanimously by the committee, just as clarification. Mr. Bonnegorio, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with you, I'll give Ms. Farrow a second
it.
to get her together. Mr.
Okay.
Bonnegorio.
Thank you. And yes, I agree, these were passed unanimously by the policy committee. And I love the principle that we're applying here, which is to provide equal opportunities, non-discrimination.
Point
and-
of order.
Yes.
You're on 8130.
8130, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Yes. So the title of that one is Equal Educational Opportunities. So I just need, looking at this after the fact and thinking about it further, I just need some clarification. It is the policy of this district that each student attending its public schools shall have equal educational opportunities. It goes on, and then lists a variety of characteristics: race, color, creed, et cetera, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender identity is an addition. I'm not sure I understand the distinction between the term sex and gender identity. Is there a differentiation between those two items?
I mean, I'll take a crack at it in layman's terms. And I don't know if somebody wants to, I mean, I look at sex as, I'm a male, and my gender identity, if I identified as a female, I would be a female, so it would be, that would be my gender identity. For all the smart people in the room, is that accurate?
Yes, I would have taken sex as sex identified at birth,
Yep.
and then gender identified by the person themselves.
And with that too, I mean, what I've seen again in the business world and whatnot, right, is this is where like the use of pronouns come into play, right? So you might be he, she, they, them, right? Non-binary in that sense as well. And so that would be somewhat different, right, than sex versus, you know, that classification.
Okay.
Gender identity is protected under federal law since 2014, so this is nothing new.
So further clarification then, does this create any conflict with Title IX protections for women and girls and opportunities for them?
No.
Can you elaborate?
I don't, that's kind of, they're separate things, and I don't think it's related to this policy.
Well, so help me understand then, if someone identifies, someone has a sex assigned at birth that is male and identifies as female, how does that factor into Title IX protections, for example, in sports?
We follow New York State laws, and the laws is such that protect separate classes. So depending on the situation, we would refer to law first, which supersedes school board policy.
I didn't notice the law, and it may be my ignorance there, but I know that a variety of laws are referenced. I didn't see that legislation referenced. Is it in there?
I'm just going to read from some guidance from the New York State Ed Department from 2015. Title IX of the Education Amendments in 1972 specifically prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in federally funded education programs and activities. The United States Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights has issued guidance recognizing that Title IX protects transgender students against discrimination based on their gender identity.
And that's referenced in here, the third one from the bottom.
Can I add a comment to that? Or question?
Mr. Bonnegorio, are you done? I don't want to cut you off, or if you have something else.
At the moment, yeah.
Okay. Mr.
Thank you.
So I just want to clarify, because it does say extracurricular events, and if we do take out the sex, sexual orientation, and we're putting in gender identity, does this give the ability for women to play in men's sports, I'm assuming, correct? It is under extracurricular events, I'm assuming that is under sports?
Can I ask a point of clarification? You asked about removing sexual orientation, and that has not been removed?
I realize I didn't say that, but yes, this is regards to the sex, sexual orientation, gender identity. So my question still stands, though. Is this going to allow women to play in, girls to play in the sports?
Thank you for
extracurricular?
clarifying. So I want to just clarify a couple of things. So female, it could be a female that identifies as a male, or a male who identifies as a female. And so would they be able to participate in a sport or activity that is like designed by a particular male or female, like where they differentiate?
Right, so, yeah, so then obviously if the girls can play in the men's sports, so obviously opposite.
Well, it's not girls, I mean, I think that there's a difference in terms of the way you're saying it, but if it's a student who was a female, born a female, and is now identifying as a male, I think it's different, because that wouldn't be necessarily the way we would talk about that. But yes, they would, depending on the sport and depending on, there's a lot right now that has just come out through the state that is being brought down through all the sports or athletic organizations around what does that look and sound like, and how does that work in sports. So I can't say clearly or definitively for every sport, for example, it would be just like that. And I know that there's some work that Section 5 is doing on that to provide us some guidance. So it's not a clean answer right now for you.
Right, I was going to say, because then that would it brings up so much more policy procedures as far as, you know, you've got girls and boys and going each other's sports. We have a locker room situation, shower room situation. I mean, we got to make sure that there's a safety
And this
concern.
isn't new.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this has been years.
This is
since
just a
2015.
conversation.
Yep.
Yep. So, okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, one more clarification. I think one of the answers suggested a distinction between a person who is transgendered and a person who identifies as a different gender, but may not be transgendered physically. I don't know if I'm saying that all correctly. Does that factor into it?
So, point of clarification.
Mr. Farmer?
Are you saying that this person may not have had bottom and top surgery?
I'm asking if that was a distinction in the answer.
I'm not clear.
Can I just ask a question? So the intent of the policy, right, is to ensure that we have equal educational opportunities for all shapes and colors, however you want to identify yourself, whatever ethnic background you have, basically anything that's covered by law, right, that we will educate that student to the best of our abilities and ensure that they have equal access to an opportunity any way you want to slice it. And if that's the case, right, I honestly, I'm indifferent to what pronoun anyone wants to use, what they want to identify as, or anything like that. We're saying we're going to give them an education.
100%.
So I don't understand what we're debating here.
It's not a
I really
debate, we're
don't.
having a discussion.
I don't know what we're having a discussion about. Does everyone agree with that? Then I consider 8130 closed, because there's nothing else to talk about. Unless there's a violent objection from someone at this table that what I just said is inaccurate, I think the discussion's closed. And I'd like to move to the next policy.
Does that impact the way we handle locker room issues?
As stated, right, we've been dealing with this for years, right? This has been a thing in our schools for years. Passing this policy does not change the kids that we are educating.
That's right.
It doesn't.
That's right.
So again, I don't understand what we are debating on this specific policy.
We haven't debated anything. We've been asking questions, which constitutes as a conversation.
Yeah,
if you want to debate, we can.
It's
but this
not
is
really,
not
though. To what end, though? To what end are we solving something here? Because I thought that's the point here, right? Before us is a policy that's already been reviewed by our committee. Are we comfortable with it or not? And now we want to discuss it further? To what end? What are we solving? Tell me the issue at hand. Because the policy is designed to give us equal opportunity, present equal opportunity to all of our students.
We probably could have been done with this 5 minutes ago, but we were asking questions and you keep asking to keep going forward. If you want to end the policy, you can. But
I can't, because I tried to do them all together and we couldn't do that.
All right, getting back, does anybody have any more discussion on 8130? Any other
Yes.
questions, comments?
Yes, I have more discussion on 8130.
All righty, Ms. Flores.
8130 follows the law. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the school district's goal in this update of this policy is to enable us to follow the law.
Correct.
Is there any part of this policy that does not follow the law?
No.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on 8130?
Could I make a point of clarification just about locker rooms?
Absolutely.
We were one of the first school districts in the area that stopped using them approximately 6 years ago, where students no longer change for gym. We've stopped that, so if that's your main issue, we took care of that years ago because many students said that it was an uncomfortable area for them. So we met the rights of all students and removed that barrier.
Thank you, Dr. Colicchio, for the clarification.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion on 8130? All right, we're done with 8130. Mrs. Farah, what other ones would you like to discuss?
I think we're good. We'll let Sawicki end this.
Happy to talk about
No,
others.
No, we're not gonna debate back and forth. If you have questions, Mr. Farrar, it's your duty as a board member to fulfill your role. If you have questions or concerns, you should raise those questions or concerns.
Yes.
And if you have further questions or concerns, please address them.
I just wanted to make reference, I know there was one regarding the COVID.
Yes.
And they changed the pandemic. Are we advocating for, I know that we're trying to advocate locally, are we still trying to do that? I know that the policy was referenced around COVID, and I know that we're kind of getting out of it in reference like a pandemic kind of a situation.
Yeah,
So we
because it
kind of
was
want to.
specific to
Yes.
COVID, so this is basically if we have another pandemic, if we have COVID-20, it would be COVID-20, and it's a broad-based, it's more of a broad-based. Our other policy was specific to COVID-19. Now we have a pandemic-related policy. So if there's another pandemic that comes, we will have a policy in place for that already. That was the intent of the policy.
Perfect, good, thank you.
Anybody other, else have any other questions or comments on any of these other policies? All right, with that, seeing none, all those in favor of the policies before you? Opposed? Did you vote? Oh, okay. All right, that passes 5-2. Moving on to board member comments. Board member comments, who would like to go first? No board member comments tonight, Vice President Malone? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Flores, I'm sorry.
My apologies for.
No, it's okay.
I had the pleasure of attending an event at a school that I am a liaison for, English Village, this past week. They had an event where they had a bingo night and had pizza and did a buy one, get one free from their school book sale. I pulled in the parking lot and I couldn't find a parking spot. The place was packed. There were over 400 people that went through there. And I just want to shout out a congratulations to Katie and Stacy, who are the community schools parent and site coordinator, for organizing an amazing event. The interaction amongst the parents that was going on there and the sharing that was going on, just the general vibe of what you feel when you walk in that school, especially when an event like that is going on, and the positive comments from the parents, the positive comments from the kids of how excited they were. I just couldn't miss stating what a great event. And I know that those things are going on at our other schools, and we're seeing a high level of participation for people who want to be involved. So thank you to especially our community schools representatives who are making those types of opportunities available to the parents and students and families to be able to get together and talk about common things and be able to have their kids share really great time outside of their usual school day. So outside of that, I would like to remind everyone, as if I don't think that it needs a reminder, that May 16th is our day to vote. Irregardless of how you feel about the district, it's so important to get out and share your voice and to vote. And we have a lot of people in this district who don't take that opportunity. We have a lot of the same people who come in and share their opinions, and they're really important to all of us. But there's a majority of people that we don't hear from. And we look for different ways to try to find avenues to be able to speak to those people and to be able to hear from them. And I think this district continues to try to do everything that they possibly can to involve all the stakeholders, to be transparent in the information that they share. I echo a lot of the things that Peter Johnson was sharing as our GTA rep, in where he was stating that despite the fact that there are a lot of things going wrong in this district and they're not where we want to be, we are finding ways and trying to understand why. Why aren't these things happening? And what do we need to do to build up other outside resources? I think for our kids, the question does remain, why are our ELA scores and math scores lower than they should be? Why is that the case at every other school district? I don't know. But I think that what is important is this school district has taken a tremendous amount of time to put into place other programs to try to support kids in other ways. We have to be able to capture students' attention. We have to be able to offer programs and services that prepares kids to want to learn. Because if you have a child in front of you that is unfocused and has no interest in the material in front of them, no matter how hard you try, it will be ineffective. This district has put forth programs such as clubs and other opportunities for our kids in secondary school. The kids who came and spoke today that are doing the RT program, amazing. There's other interests available. And I think that by looking at all of those outside programs, it lends to the idea for our kids that if they want to learn how to do those things, the basis of their education, which is reading, writing, math, is going to be really necessary in order for them to follow through with those other activities. So I'm excited about the things that this school district has put forth. I'm excited about the things that are in the budget that the district has so thoughtfully and responsibly thought about to support our kids. There are a lot of mental health issues that are going on. It affects my family directly. And without the additional support of the school district, those people that I know and within my family and those other people that need those resources in order to be able to come to school ready to learn is so, so important. We need to keep understanding and identifying those underlying issues. I also resonate with a comment that in our public forum earlier about school is not a parent. I tend to agree that school is not supposed to replace a parent. But we are in a situation where we have a district where parents are stretched beyond their limits. And these kids come to school and they don't have what they need. And the district steps in and provides services, programs, and actually somebody who cares and wants to listen to the kid in front of them, to be able to provide things that unfortunately some of our parents just can't manage all the time. So is it the right thing for school to be a parent? Not always. But one of the things I love about this district is the kids come into this school and the teachers, the front line, as I call them, and everybody else around them, they care enough to realize they may not be a parent, but that kid still needs that kind of support. They need to understand morals and manners and all of those other things. So while we don't want to think that we need school to do certain things, there's a certain reality. A certain reality we have to face, whether it be a reality about what we need for getting better reading and math scores, or what we need in order to tackle the mental health issues so our students are ready to learn. Chaos takes away from our students. Our students need stability. They need to be in a situation where they're not facing constant, massive changes. They need to be able to have people support them. The point of this board for me, and this is my opinion only, everybody else would need to speak for themselves, whether you're running or already on this board. I came to this board with no agenda because of the fact that it is a commitment to the whole package. I'm not here representing one particular school. I'm not here representing one particular group. I'm not here representing one particular problem. I'm not here representing one particular thing that's going really, really well. The hardest part about being on this board is being willing to look at all sides of things and represent the entire package. And while you may not always agree with it, and I can assure you that I do not always agree with any of my board members at any given time, the important part is we sit here as a collective group and try to figure out what the best way is to help our students. Our students need our support. They need the services that this district is stretching their funds to provide. I encourage you, use your voice. Please go out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Flores. Vice President Millar.
Those of you who know me, I'm a music person, so even though I do subscribe to the Rochester Broadway Theater League, I also attend all the plays in Greece Central, and I was happy to end my season with The Wizard of Oz Jr. at Arcadia Middle School and SpongeBob SquarePants at Athena Middle School. How exciting to see the younger students trying their skills and putting on costumes. I thoroughly enjoyed all of them, and I can't wait for a new season. But we are also now in concert season, and every school is going to be having their spring concerts. Please go out and support the students, you know, especially the young ones, first year playing the violin. It's so exciting. Happy that we have girls playing flag football. I didn't think I'd ever be able to say that, and I hope to get to a game soon. It should be exciting. I want to remind everybody that the art show starts May 4th at the mall, and students from all our schools have artwork that was selected to be there. So please go by and support those art students. And finally, to the firefighters that were here before, I was at Odyssey one day, and I thought there was actually a fire because there were fire trucks and students in gear. And in fact, I even called Sean and said, something's going on here. What a wonderful experience for our students to work with the community firefighters. And I'm thrilled. I'm a career educator, so I couldn't ask for anything more. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Millar. I just have a... Mr. Swicky. Mr. Swicky?
Thank you, President McCabe.
Since you're almost done, I'll give you the level.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And Ms. Flores sparked some things for me as well, right? So, you know, and part of it was, you know, talking about why you run for board, right? And, you know, I'm not running again, right? Surprise, I wasn't on the list, right? But yeah, it made me reflect on why did I run to begin with, right? And I didn't have an agenda, right? I had 3 kids who were at the time just going into kindergarten, right? And from a servant leadership perspective, right, I felt compelled to lend my time, my talents, right, or what some people call talents, right? It's a very loose definition. And put that out there, right, to try and help. And yeah, I would say somewhat surprisingly, I think I snuck in and won, right? And I was like, okay, well, what do we do, right? And I certainly had some thoughts, right? But largely I didn't have an agenda, right? But I did know I was a finance guy, and I stomped over to Romeo's office so quick. I was like, hey, listen, Romeo, we're going to crack this budget. We're going to figure this out, right? Because we're at the time, $230 million, district here. We're going to figure this out. I know we're wasting money away, right? We've got to be burning it. We're not, right? And it took me a bit, to be humble enough to recognize even where you may bring expertise, right? You really have to have an appreciation for how the whole system works, right? And, this village metaphor, which was referred to earlier and has gotten far more run than I think I ever expected, not just for me, but other candidates have used it as well. It made me reflect, too, that maybe a village isn't the right thing, right? And I'm going to date myself here a bit, right, and go a little geeky for everyone. Do you guys remember Sim City? It was like one of the first Windows-based games, right? And the whole premise of the game, before there was Sims, before there was Minecraft and all that, right, was that you had to build a city, and you had to get people to come to your city, and then you tax them, and you got dollars, and then you got to build a skyscraper, right? Well, in my younger days, right, I just wanted to build the amusement park in the city. That was it, right? I was going to get a roller coaster, and that was going to be bringing everybody to my city, and I was going to win Sim City. And I was pretty successful at that. I built the roller coaster, and people came. The whole while, the mayor keeps popping up, and it was like, hey, listen, everyone's hungry. We need a few more restaurants, right? Hey, maybe we should put a library in, right? That would be great. And I'm like, no. Another roller coaster. Maybe we'll put a baseball stadium, right? And I just went off on a total tangent, and next thing you know, my city didn't make it, right? Everyone left, and nobody went, right? And for me, right, I'm going to use that analogy to think about how I serve as a board member, or how I served as a board member, right? And really, in areas where it's not my expertise, right, I listen to the experts, and I heed that advice, right? And I hear that, right, when I hear teachers, administrators, support staff tell us, what they're seeing in schools, right? Some may say, hey, John, that's to the extreme. Maybe you're trusting everybody too much. And there's a fair argument to that, right? Do we need more data? Sure, there's sometimes I could ask for some more, right? And I could be annoying on that, looking at Kathy, right? But on the whole, right, I'm going to trust the experts in those particular fields, right, to do their jobs, right? And for me, as I'm still a customer here of the district, right? My kids did not on the Doogie Howser program. They did not get through in the last 6 years, right? So I'm still around for a bit, right? But I ask, like Ms. Flores, right, that everyone gets out and votes, right? And do that in an educated way, right? Read the budget packet. Go through every line item that Romeo put in there, right? And digest it. You won't be able to digest it, but try, right? Because there's a lot there, right? And I'd say through 6 years, I still don't know every line item, the way Romeo does, right? But I trust him, right? But read the packet, watch the candidate night, form your own opinions, right? One of the other reasons I'm not running for board, I'll give you 2 reasons, right? One, for me, there's a lot of false narratives that play in the media, right? And I'll point to social media in particular, right? Make sure you recognize the source that you're getting your information from. It's so critical, not just for school board elections, but in life, right? And in many ways, I feel this most recent election is kind of like what we saw in the presidential election 3 years ago, right? Where I feel like I need an intern that just does fact checks the whole time and tells me which side is right. So get your own information. Watch the candidate night, read the budget packet, form your own opinion, and then get out there and vote. It's the most important thing you can do for your city, right? For your kids, right? To make sure they have the best education possible. Thank you.
I am going to miss you. And with that, it's my turn. I was lucky enough last week to be able to recognize several Greece students. They received the Monroe County Youth Award last week at MCC. And as a school district, we had the most students besides the city of Rochester, so I'm very proud of the fact that we had so many amazing young people that were recognized by County Executive Bello and the county legislature for what amazing things our kids do. I was also lucky enough to present an award to one of our assistant principals who's leaving this year, Mr. Dave Hoffman, and he's been a strong advocate, especially with our marching band and in schools for 35 years, almost 40 years, I believe it is. And he's going to be missed as he heads off in retirement, but it was an honor to recognize him last week as well. I want to take a moment to echo what my vice president said about the girls' flag football. I was lucky enough to flip the inaugural coin between Arcadia and Athena girls' flag football. It's absolutely amazing that we have that. I want to thank the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation for making that possible across Western New York. And it's amazing to see how many young ladies we have participating in flag football. And the RT, I said it a little bit earlier, that those kids are amazing. What I'm most proud of is looking at the group of kids that was here tonight. Way back in the day when we started talking about responding to emergencies conceptually, the fire service in the town of Greece is very white and it's very male. And to see that group of kids tonight, that was one of the goals, to increase diversity in the fire service by bringing more women in, by bringing young people of color into jobs in the fire service. And that program is evidence tonight is pushing people into those jobs that they never thought they could get, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. And lastly, I want to take a moment to congratulate our superintendent of schools. She is being recognized next week by the Genesee Valley ACSD Awards Committee, and she's getting an award for outstanding leadership. And I just want to congratulate you. I'm looking forward to attending, and you should be very proud of that award. So with that, you're up.
My remarks will be short. The main thing that I want to say right now in terms of closing the meeting tonight is how proud I am of the budget that we've put forward. The budget is an incredibly long process. We start talking about it in November, December. We really don't stop talking about it all year long, but we really get into the thick of it early on. The most important thing that we do with that is get input. The most important part of that is making sure that we're funneling dollars towards what's important and to the things that match our values. When I see kids stand up that are part of the responding to emergency, that's because we funded things. When I see the robotics teams having the success that they've had, it's because we have funneled dollars to those things like extracurriculars and sports and music. And our goal is to graduate like citizens, graduate happy, healthy, civic-minded, responsible students. And we may not be perfect, but what I will say is I'm proud that we are a humble organization. I'm proud that our union reps will stand up and acknowledge areas that we need to grow and also acknowledge where we want to build on success. There is plenty of work to do, and we've put forth a budget that really is going to allow us to do much of that work. But I will also say 1 year will not fix everything that is wrong in our district or the country, or New York State, any of it. Reading doesn't get fixed with a program. Reading doesn't get fixed in 1 year. Behavior doesn't get fixed in 1 year. So I would ask and plead for you to really look at what we have put out in terms of the budget documents. You will see programs, services, staff funded that are really putting their money where their mouth is and helping students in those key areas that we've identified with ELA, math, and behavior, as well as being able to continue to provide a wealth of opportunities for our kids, which we know they need to get a sense of belonging, to show up, and actually feel good about being in school. So I'm proud of this, and I'm proud of a budget department that doesn't just look at numbers. There's many districts that do a lot of that, and you can put forth a budget easy on paper that's balanced, particularly with the foundation aid that we're getting. But our budget department is different in that they really do care about our students that we're graduating. They really do care about making sure that that budget itself is representing what we want and need for our community. And I appreciate that, and I'm proud of it. And I look at it and say, oh my gosh, even as someone who's in a house for $170,000, I'm going to save $51 next year. That's going to be less. I think that's a big accomplishment and one that we've worked hard on in terms of how we designed and what we're putting forward. So I would encourage everyone to vote. I hope to see more people out in terms of participation. Our response has been about less than 4% in this district that come out to vote. So my hope is that more people will have their voice heard on May 16th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Grumman.
Bill's not here.
Oh. All right, Ms. Flores.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn our meeting, please, in honor of Mr. Maloney.
There you go. Can I get a second? Seconded by Ms. Farmer. All those in favor? That passes 7-0. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.